through this matchup?
Well, I think with both of those guys, just playing a full season and going through being on the road and just the experiences, like you kind of saw it in the first half. I can kind of see you saw it in the first half of the Michigan game. Their team has 57 points. It's pretty impressive. It's hard to do. Michigan is a good team, very good team at home, and those guys went in there. Obviously, they didn't have the best second half, but it just kind of shows you their firepower, and it shows you what they were going to do. And it's just not those two guys. Acuff really shot the basketball well. Somerville's made strides the whole year. Jeremiah Williams is a guy that can break you down and make plays, has a lot of experience. So just across the board, Ogbali is back to give him that size on the front line. So they're, like I said, they're dangerous in transition. They're dangerous in the half court. They get into ISOs. They're kind of their ball screen motion, their ball screen attack. But very, very good pieces.
They abandoned kind of what they've been because of the guys they've got on the roster now? The kind of grinded out defensive mentality?
Well, I just think they just have more weapons offensively. I think that kind of happens organically sometimes when you have that many, offensive guys that you run stuff for. You're going to shoot the ball a little quicker. A lot of people don't realize the tie to being a better defensive team sometimes is if you shoot quick offensively, you're not going to help yourself as much. But you might score more points, but the other team's going to score more points too. It's just kind of the possessions. You're going to have more possessions. The pace is going to be quicker. But I think it really just starts with them in terms of not helping them in transition. Take care of the basketball, take good shots, set your defense. They can score in the half court. They've proven that. But just don't give them those opportunities on the glass and don't give them those opportunities in transition.
How much of an exercise in coaching is it for you guys to kind of go through the season without the rim protection you guys are used to?
Right. Yeah, it's you have to work towards in high school and when you first start and you get going, it's you got to keep the ball out of the paint, you got to contain the dribble, and then it was such a big charge game. That was the thing when you grew up. Everybody takes charges. Everybody get out of the paint, take a charge, and do that. And now it's harder to get charges. Anytime they make their step and raise the basketball, they're not going to give you that call. But you still want to get there and be able to do it. So those are the type of things that we really work towards. I'm saying, hey, we got to get outside the paint. We got to do the things, but we also got to give resistance on the ball. If you give no resistance on the ball and they're just direct drives, it's really hard for the help. Mm-hmm. To be there. So we understood that we were going to play that way, when Daniel wasn't in the game. And so we've worked, but then now it's become how we play the whole time. And then you see the shortcomings of it, right? If you don't contain the dribble, you don't keep it out of the paint, man, it makes it really, really hard on us. So you just got to keep working, but you have to be good on the ball. If you stay out of rotations, even though we get into some rotations and we do it on our own because we're just not going to let them just go one-on-one against us in the post and get us into foul trouble.
Cam seemed to be your low man more often against UCLA. Is that
Yes.
just the way it
That's the way they designed it.
out?
Yeah.
Because he was guarding Daly.
Yeah, it just depends on what you run. We can't match to it. It's not a zone, even though we zone off. It's not a zone. But there's a lot of qualities that it's my version of a zone. So my version of a zone before used to be just not guarding people. So if you couldn't shoot, we just wouldn't guard you. And so we would just hold in there, then try to clog up the lane, and just kind of live with that person shooting because he was a non-shooter or you shot a really low percentage. Now we're really just trying to, whether it's a post-up or an ISO ball screen or just a baseline drive, we just want to get there before the paint. But you got to have a good double. Sometimes when you do that, if your double stinks and you don't disrupt the basketball at all, it's just a free pass. But we don't want that pass going to the rim. We want that pass going out, and then we'll live with it at that time.
Is it this last game? We always get stuck between making a big deal about things that aren't a big deal. But it seemed like Miles went in earlier, both halves.
He did.
CJ. And that was that matchup based, or was that just based off of you saw something that's been?
No, I
thought
he played better in the previous two games, so I put him in earlier. So it helps you kind of get back into another rotation if you're the one that goes in earlier. So he didn't do that in Indiana, but he played well. So I see he stayed in and he played more. And so yeah, I put him in because I thought he had played better in the previous game and gave us a punch. And so you wanted wanted to get him in there and hopefully get more minutes, if he plays the same. I thought he did some good things. Obviously, he made 2 shots right away. I think he got 2 fouls, if I'm not mistaken, in that first half. So, but no, I thought he did some good things for us.
You said played better, like in what capacities would you feel like?
Making shots to start with, and then just doing other things, defending and like just staying. For us, it's doing our job. Like a lot of times you look and you get off and you say, yeah, you should do this and you should do that. And I always talk about the evaluation from a coach. Like, I can't evaluate what you do when we're not consistent in what we do as a team. So that's where our team gets at times. It's like, you gotta stick to our rules. So if it's not working, then we can adjust. But I don't know if it's working or not if we don't do our job. And so like a lot of people don't understand, like not doing your job is probably doing it 80% of the time. Like you gotta be 100% guy in terms of how are we handling this ball screen action? How are we handling this post up? How are we handling drives? Like, things of that nature. It all ties together.
Is it chicken or the egg with Miles playing better defensively, thus playing more, and his shots going in?
Yeah, I think it helps each other. Like, I think when you make, it starts with the offense, in my opinion, for most people. Like when you make a couple shots, like now, like you're better in other areas. I'm not saying that's for him. I'm just saying in general, that's how normally it is with guys. You feel better about yourself. And we always try to emphasize taking good shots, and when you miss them, don't let it bother you. Like you did a good thing and the percentages will weigh out. Don't look at that. The way we play and how we kind of play off of Braden and how we play off of Trey Kaufman, and then we run some stuff for Fletch. Like the people that can complement them, if they can make shots and they can make plays, it really helps us. Just being able to make some of those shots that come your way. And it's definitely different because like organically, you can get a handful of opportunities and sometimes you only get a couple. Like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes you can get 7 or 8 shots. And sometimes you're not going to get anything at all because we're running it for Trey Kaufman-Wren, we're running it for Braden Smith, we're running a play for Fletch. And then you got to be able to play off of those guys if they take it away. And sometimes that comes your way and sometimes it doesn't. That's kind of part of role definition.
Has Fletcher kind of grown, matured maybe, I guess, in a shot selection mentality? Seemed a couple of years ago, I feel like he just took a bunch of threes, and part of that is that you had Zach, but also he's taking a lot more drives to the basket and drawing fouls, things of that sort.
Yeah, he's really good at attacking closeouts and then getting that angle, and he's good when he gets angles, especially when he gets to his right hand because he has a good pull up. He has a good runner. He has a good floater right there. Then obviously, he shoots around 50% from 3. So like they're always going to be saying, hey, don't let him catch and shoot. So like having that mentality, now when you do those things and you're aggressive when it's not there, being able to play off of 2 feet and then make the next play. I think that's the key, not just for him, but for anybody. Because you want guys to be aggressive, but also make good decisions. But, he's gotten really good at, playing off those closeouts, playing off of his shot fake, and then being able to get to the next action or make the next play.
Just fair to say the maturity is more the decisions he makes when he's being denied the ball, not the decisions he's making on his own not to.
Right. Like he should shoot more threes. Like, he should really try to hunt more threes because that's such a strength for his, but you want to take quality threes. But you still want to be on that hunt. Like you still want to be, because when they're taking those away from him, they should be giving space to other people then, by that attention. So, but no, he's done a good job. I would, give some of the credit to his and his ability to stay in the off season, especially like in May, and kind of build up to try to work on his stretching and just being more of a physical player and helping himself, especially at this time of the year. So he has really stayed with that before and after practice in terms of his stretches and doing things of that nature.
With Miles and Cam, just the way you leaned on them and the way the way they progressed, do you see them giving you something that you were lacking, and is that something you've been asking for them to kind of come
Yeah,
and
it's
do?
the same thing, the whole year, like what you're asking them for. They're both guys that can, make open shots. Miles has a pull-up to what he does, but they both, we work on a drill that we do almost every single day. We're not doing it today, but we work on rebounding and then not looking for the basketball and letting somebody outlet the basketball to Braden and take off and not having that first second or two where you're 3/4. like right as we get that rebound, obviously if they get it, they're going to get it to him. Or if somebody else gets it, now sprint and so we can advance the basketball and try to attack in transition because they both have that kind of athleticism. Then their ability to sprint and use their athleticism, even when they don't get it, it's going to pull people, especially if you go to the rim. That's why you see a lot of times with those guys that are sprinters, they'll get to the rim and they'll get stopped, and then you have those guys that just kind of fill in on the break and get those open threes. It's because somebody normally ran before them if they just didn't have a primary break where it was like 3-on-2 or 4-on-2 or something of that nature. But no, both those guys, just being able to make shots, to run the court, to get on the offensive glass, to make hustle plays, to defend, their role's been the same. Like sometimes you get more of an opportunity and make it work for yourself. Get out there and be productive and be consistently productive in other areas, and it'll definitely help your cause.
Last year you had a senior day that seemed like it was a decade long. Now you're going to have one of the shorter ones you probably ever had here, but you have a prototypical student athlete with the emphasis on student with Caleb. He's kind of a throwback, I guess, in an era where the portal's a thing, and he came here with an academic goal in mind.
Right.
How has he used basketball to get to that next stage of his life?
Yeah, I think, anytime you have the success that he's had, I think sometimes that gets lost when you're not the leading scorer. Like he's had a lot of success, and it's been difficult, I think, from a personal level, because like your minutes have been up, they've been down, they've been up, they've been down, they've been up again, like, you know what I mean? And so like that piece, I think can really help you in your life, because like you're dealing with some adversity, but then you see the bigger purpose of things. Your team's winning, you're trying to win championships, you're trying to be as successful as you can be. So yeah, he's the quintessential student athlete, but he's also somebody that has had more success than anybody ever who's played at Purdue. He's got the most wins in the history of Purdue. That's a pretty cool thing, to be able to have that kind of success on the court and off the court.